Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a new set of great stories for you to enjoy. Sit comfortably. Here we go. Force me to quit? Fine. Let me collapse your whole organization. So about 3 years ago, I was asked by a friend, Ash, to help out a wheelchair-bound disabled chap called Gary who wanted to go swimming, but none of his care staff, apart from my friend, were willing to take him. I agreed because I've worked in care at all levels previously, so I was fine with helping a chap out. I was there a month or so before they asked if I was willing to take on actual shifts there. I was very part-time initially. The shifts were a waking night/sleep from 2300 to 12 o'clock the next day, and a single 4-hour shift between 1500 and 1900. I was given a couple of day shifts, and I was tasked with picking up any shifts because of holiday or illness by other staff members. He had 4 other staff, my friend Ash, a dude called Jake, one called Craig, and the most problematic, Lisa. Lisa picked up 1 sleep per week and a couple of day shifts. The problem is she was a raging alcoholic who just didn't come to work if she wanted to go out drinking instead. But Gary, disabled chap, fancied her a bit. She was very touchy-feely with him, I think to manipulate him as he's very lonely. Jake wouldn't work a weekend and would only do 2 sleeps, plus Jake didn't like doing any housework, and he didn't like doing personal care. Craig would only work 3 sleeps and never a day shift. He didn't believe he should have to do any housework at all. He wouldn't even make a bed. Things were changed in the scheme to suit Craig. Hoovers had to be emptied and cleaned every time you used it. No sheets were kept on a carer's bed as Craig didn't think he should change them. Gary had to be put in his PJs by the day staff as Craig didn't want to do that either. Again, like I say, nobody was willing to take Gary swimming, and now I knew why. Please, just allow yourself a moment to understand that 2 staff members had at least 65% of the allotted hours, but would not do any housework or personal care. Craig has worked this job for a decade and made at least 1,800 pounds every month without fail, but without having to do any work, and for half the week, he just has entire days to do nothing. Easy money. These 3 staff members are seemingly bulletproof, and nothing they do gets them dismissed. Lisa had at this point been suspended 3 times during my tenure for being drunk and abusive on duty. At one point, she was suspended for 10 weeks while they let everything blow over. So I get taken on to mainly make up for the fact that his mother is off on the sick as she's had surgery on her knee. But after about a year or so, I became aware that his mother is being paid a full wage every month, but without statutory sick pay being noted on her payslip. I immediately know what's up. Gary's mother is in control of his account that the local authority pays money into, then he pays his care staff from. I also find out that Gary is also using this account to fund his lifestyle, including clothes, gifts for his staff, etc. He's quite blatant about it, laughs about it often. I find this really galling because I pay tax to my local authority every month, like every family in the UK, and that pays for everything in my area, including social care. So I report this to the local authority and get absolutely no joy. Very disappointed in this, I decide to continue working there, but save all the evidence I can for the future. I also convince him to keep a handover book for the staff to note what activities were that day, so anyone curious can track what things staff are and aren't doing. Anyway, up until last week, I was working for him about 30 hours a week and handling a lot of the day-to-day problems. But I get a text from his mother saying she's returning to work the following week, so my services will be reduced to a single 4-hour shift once a fortnight. I said thank you, but no thank you, and I worked till my final paycheck and called it quits. Now, as a last-ditch attempt to get someone to listen, I send a lengthy email to the emergency care team at the adult care service where I detailed absolutely everything. I got interest, and today somebody came out to interview me. They were incredibly interested in what I had to say and confirmed my initial email kickstarted an investigation into Gary's situation. They told me they'd been building a case against this for a while and that it stretches back the entire 20 years he'd been able to pay for his own care. I had documented that his mother had paid herself for working 9 hours every Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday for every month that I'd worked there. She had submitted timesheets herself to the local authority that documented this. She also had submitted the timesheets to the council that showed the same days that she was apparently working, she'd arranged for other staff to work them, namely me and 2 others. She'd also sent messages to me that documented her communicating with me to continue to cover her shifts. The handover book documented what had been done that day. She never wrote in it, obviously. Medication charts at the property documented who gave him medication that day. She never signed it. So yesterday morning, Gary and his mother were called to the council to explain to them why his entire contingency fund was gone. This was meant to pay for sick pay, maternity pay, and any other unforeseen monetary problems he may encounter. There was nothing left. Gary admitted some guilt and cut them a check for £5,000 on the spot. This money was something he came into recently after his grandfather had died. That was a humongous admission of guilt. Then, when the local social worker met Gary at his address yesterday, and after some probing, he admitted that, yes, he was aware of the conspiracy that he and his mother operated, and yes, he was paying her a full wage every month, knowing that she was not working. Again, jackpot for that social worker and an even bigger admission of guilt. The social worker was meant to then interview the mother, but at that point, she knew it was knowingly criminal and that he and his mother had entered a criminal conspiracy to defraud the council over a potential 20-year period to the tune of £250,000 at least. She contacted the police and left them to arrest the mother and interview her. I was told I'll be contacted in due course to be interviewed by the police, as would all other staff. I was also told that Gary would no longer be in control of his staffing at all, and there's no way that the other staff members would be taken on by the care organization that would have to be brought in to run his care. The only other person who would interview for his position would be my buddy Ash, as he'd had a faultless record. And our next story. Revenge is best served frozen. We don't own a car and live at the end of a cul-de-sac. I have people use my driveway all the time to turn around. It's not a huge deal to me, a little annoying when they compact the snow and it's harder to shovel, but whatever. One of my neighbors had a ride service come pick up their child every day. The van would park in my spot and begin honking at like 8 a.m. I worked nights at the time. Half the time he'd be half parked on my grass. I told my neighbor that I don't overly mind my spot being used, but not if he's going to honk like that every morning, and especially not if he's going to drive over what little lawn I have every time. She spoke with him. He ignored it. I spoke with him and got, "What's your problem, man? It's not like you're using it." To which I repeated that I don't mind him using it if he stays off my grass and he doesn't honk every morning. Apparently suggesting he wait till the kid notices he's there, or God forbid he have to drag his butt out of the car and knock on a door, was just ridiculous and inhumane of me. So I left a recycle bin at the foot of my driveway. He just ran over it. I called the dispatch for the ride service and was told they are subcontractors and technically self-employed, but they'll pass along the message. I wake up the next day to a pounding on my door. Dude is PO'd. Him. "How dare you call my boss, you stupid piece of crap? What the F is wrong with you?" Me. "Well, it's quite simple. You were told not to use my driveway if you were going to drive on my lawn and wake me up every morning. Now get off my doorstep. I'll sue you if I lose my job because of you. You've been warned. Don't trespass on my driveway or property again." Dude storms off in a huff, spouting obscenities, etc. So this happened on a Thursday. The kids have a PD day the next day, and it's supposed to be one of those delightful Canadian weekends where it drops to like minus 40 degrees Celsius. For my American friends, minus 40 is where Celsius and Fahrenheit meet up, so it's freaking cold, LOL. So that night, I grabbed one of my more beat-up plastic garbage bins, made sure to plug all the holes with a generous amount of duct tape, stuck a sign on it that read, "Private property, driveway not for public use," and proceeded to fill it to the brim with water. Now, before anyone thinks I'm a jerk willing to potentially endanger the other kids in the car, I'd like to point out that my neighbor's kid is the first to be picked up, so it's just him in the car. Cue Monday morning. He sees the garbage can, backs up a bit more, and defiantly charges the garbage can as if to teach me a lesson, and proceeds to cause some pretty serious damage to the front end of his car. Dude gets out fuming, calls the cops, and comes pounding on my door, screaming about how I'm going to buy him a new car and that I'm about to be arrested. Cop. "So let me make sure I understand this situation. He asked you not to park here if you could refrain from honking. Then warned you not to park here and put up a barrier. Now you expect him to be charged and pay for damages you caused yourself to your vehicle in an attempt to destroy his own personal property? I will never forget the look on his face when the officer said, "Yeah, that's not how this works," and turned to me asking if I wanted to pursue charges for him damaging my personal property. I just gave him the most crap-eating grin I could muster and said, "Nah, I think we're good." I then went back inside to enjoy a morning coffee while watching him from my kitchen window as he paced back and forth in the cold waiting for a tow truck and having to call the company he worked for to explain why they needed to send out another driver to complete his route. And our last short story. Enjoy unemployment. A couple of years after it ended, my former sister-in-law was working at a big store that rhymes with tall fart. My mom was going to have a barbecue, and I was buying a couple of bottles of Arbor Mist. Don't judge me, I love that stuff. Well, I was going through self-checkout since all the lanes were packed. Small town. This big store was really the only place to shop. Apparently, my former sister-in-law was running the self-checkout and decided that due to our history, she couldn't be the one to check my ID. I noticed her talking to another employee who came over to allow us to continue checking out, as the machine won't allow you to continue unless someone enters a code verifying that I was old enough to make the purchase. The next day, I got an email from my ex-husband. "I think it's about time we got this divorce finalized so you can buy alcohol on your own." This made me feel very uncomfortable. I didn't like him knowing what I purchased. The years of emotional abuse left me not wanting anything to do with him, and I didn't feel like he had a right to know anything about my life. I emailed the store with my complaint, explaining that my ex had spent years tearing me down and trying to break me, and I felt like my ex was using the knowledge of my purchases to harass me and to let me know that he still knew what I was doing and who I was with. I said that I felt it was inappropriate for my former sister-in-law to be informing him of what I bought. She got fired. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.